So upcoming Friday nights, me and the degenerate boys that we are, we're coming back with the betting show.
You look at the way he bounces off tacklers, the way that he keeps his eyes downfield, his vision, his ability to find holes, his pass catching ability, right? Because he has.
In my lifetime, I'd put him at probably around the 2 area, with, again, the only other person up there being King Ricky.
Anthony Richardson or Caleb Williams at the 111.
Yeah.
So just hit us.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of BSing Sports, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. Here with me for anything fantasy football related is my co-host, Jacob James Krogan. Jacob J. Krogan. You can find him on Twitter at BSing Sports Bets. Jake, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm a little tired. Drank a little bit last night, and
It's fine, man. I'm like Kevin Gates, so I don't get tired, for people that are wondering.
oh wow,
Yeah.
okay, I see you.
Yeah, if you know the reference. If you don't, that's fine. You're probably old. I had a couple beers yesterday, shot 9 holes. I'm nothing if not consistent. I was 12 over last weekend, and I was 12 over yesterday. So,
Hey man, if you can shoot under double bogey, I think you're good. Like, I think you belong on a golf course that shows that you have the ability to hit a golf ball.
yeah, and what's crazy about this last round, the one that I had, I guess it's yesterday from the day that we're recording, I started out the first 3 holes 7 over.
Yeah, that's insane.
I
can't say anything. I've been playing such bad golf lately, so.
Dude, the first hole we were at, it was par 4, and the way the hole's designed is there's a tree dead in the middle of the fairway, and I just bought a new set of clubs that has a hybrid in it, and it had a 5 hybrid, and I think the hole was the pin was like 185 out. So I was like, I think this is the perfect distance for me to try this 5 hybrid. Dude, I hit a laser shot like straight down the fairway and hit a tree branch, and it fell straight down about halfway between the tee box and the hole.
Yeah, isn't that the worst feeling when you finally hit a good one and there's just that magical tree just right there?
So that was pretty much how the hole started, right? Like, it was a beautiful shot, dead down the middle of the fairway, and I hit a tree branch and it fell straight down. And then I had to waste my second shot because while I was like probably 75 yards from the pin, I was still under the tree, so I couldn't like lob wedge it out at all. I had to like put the 5 hybrid in the back of my stance and like punch it to the green.
Yep.
And I was like, oh man, this just wasn't a good start, but I did finish strong, obviously.
Naturally,
last 6 holes I went 5 over, so.
I mean, you can't.
Yeah, we'll be back at it again next weekend. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, you're gonna start getting consistent with it.
Yeah, I might as well. Not going to get any better if you don't play, right?
Attaboy, I like that. I like where your head's at.
Yeah. So speaking of not getting any better, I don't really know how that segues necessarily into what we're talking about here.
I was so intrigued to see where you were about to take that, man. I was like, huh?
Dude, I said I was telling myself the whole time, I was like, if I say that, right, like maybe I'll think of something on the fly. Got nothing.
Got nothing there.
So actually, technically, the way I could have segued that was, speaking of getting better, now that we know what the 2024 rookie class has done in year 1, we can redraft it with a little bit of information to our backside. And that's what is the topic of today's show. We are going to redraft the 2024 rookie class with what we know today, because 12 months ago, Jake and I were talking about this as we were making our picks. 12 months ago was a vastly different mindset than what we saw right now. A lot of guys sliding way up the board, a lot of guys sliding way down the board. And this is an interesting exercise just to see, how much we react from year 1 and how patient we are, how not patient we are, things of that nature. So
Exactly.
Jake, do you have any takeaways before we begin from like the redraft as a whole? Were you surprised by anything that we had here versus what we had in our dynasty leagues 12 months ago and things of that nature?
I mean, I think the big thing, knowing what we know now, is Michael Penix is definitely a first-round pick. And I know in specifically our auto draft league, he went 205.
I think that's right about where he went in a lot of other leagues. I got him at 203 or 205 in Friday Night Lights.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people were very much turned off by the fact he was sitting behind Kirk Cousins.
Look how that turned out.
Yeah, and see that that's probably like the epitome of draft capital is probably the biggest factor that should weigh in to your rookie drafts, that specific scenario right there. And we all, myself included, laughed at that pick and were like, what are the Falcons doing? I'm curious if they knew something about Kirk Cousins that the public just didn't see, probably particularly about his injury. And he just didn't look the same.
Yeah, dude, there's no pop on his throw anymore. Like, he just looks uncomfortable the entire season. So, I mean,
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't been traded. I think, this year coming back, another year removed from that injury may do him some good. But then again, he is 36, 37 years old, something like that. And, he's kind of up there. He may never recover from that injury.
yeah, I mean,
So, to get right into it, we spun the wheel and I got all the odds and Jake got all the evens. So I have 101. And with the 101 in a super flex tight end premium redraft of the 2024 rookie class, I'm going to select Washington Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, basically did a 180 with that whole franchise. I know obviously they moved off of previous ownership, but they really nailed this pick. And Jaden Daniels looked fantastic as a rookie and provides elite rushing upside as well. So to me, this is a very obvious 101. And what turned out to be, as we were going through this exercise and making our picks off air, a loaded draft class. So
yeah, absolutely. It was hard to miss in this draft class, especially in the first round. If you had a first round pick, most people crushed it. And then even into the second round pick, when we were picking, like there were still players available that we are excited to watch and continue to watch. But yeah, with the 102, or do you want me to talk about Jaden?
I mean, you can talk about Jaden. Nick Castellanos just hit a grand slam, and the Phillies blew the game wide open against the Dodgers here on this Sunday afternoon. So that's why I'm celebrating.
any given Sunday for baseball, right?
Well, yeah, any given Sunday for baseball. Although I saw something, and this is going to sound really homerish, but for those of you that listen to this show know that I'm not extremely homerish. I saw something that said the Dodgers are built to win World Series, which is true. They obviously have probably the best roster on paper in the MLB. And then the counter argument to that was the Phillies are built to beat the Dodgers, which I think is also very true. I think they're probably the only team in the NL that can take down the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's been a interesting year for
But
baseball already. But
it's the
we'll see
third
how it goes.
series, and we're on April 6th. So there's a lot that can happen between now and October.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree. And
So
I mean,
yeah,
my Red Sox are hit and miss right now, but they seem to have found the bats, and that's the important part.
Yeah,
But
again, it's third series. Stuff will buff out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Jaden Daniels, or do you want to move on to 102?
Oh, I mean, Jaden Daniels, I mean, there's not much to be said already. Rushing upside, you pretty much knocked out of the park. I think the ownership had a big thing to do with it, turning that around and just being better for it. But yeah, no, Jaden Daniels, great quarter. If he stays healthy, he's going to continue to do amazing things. And what more do you want?
Yeah, so you're on the clock, 102. Jake, who did you select?
No, I select that ye old Brock Bowers, dude. And I mean, this is tight end premium, and that man's putting up almost 20 points a game. So for dang sure, in a position of scarcity, that is the tight end group. That is what you want. He is who you want, and I continue, especially in Pete Carroll's offense, see him continue to just be amazing. And I hate that I have 0 shares of him in real life.
1 share. One share, and I think he fell to me at like 108.
Yep.
A lot of people 12 months ago were turned off by that landing spot. They really, me being a Notre Dame guy, a lot of people thought Michael Mayer was going to, take some targets away. The quarterback play was questionable. There were a lot of question marks in that situation for Brock Bowers. And what does he do? He breaks the all-time rookie receptions record for pass catchers in a season. This is one of those guys that I was talking about on the pre-show where, things slide up, things slide down. Not necessarily a knock against any of the other rookies behind him, but this is a guy that was quoted as the best tight end prospect to come out ever, and it showed.
Oh, it showed, and just what he did was amazing, and he's only going to get better if that team can figure out how to use him, essentially.
Yeah. So, and then 103, I'm back on the clock here. I went Malik Neighbors. I know it's super flex, tight end premium. I think those first 2 picks were probably spot on. In my opinion, in super flex tight end premium, I would put those 2 picks in a tier by themselves with what we know right now. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you potentially put other people in that tier?
No, I think it's those 2 tiers for sure. Those 2 guys in that tier for sure.
Yeah. And then the next, I think you could argue Neighbors. I think Neighbors had a fantastic season. 170 targets, 109 receptions. He was also on pace to break the NFL rookie all-time receptions. He did miss 2 games to a concussion, and he does like to remind people about that when they bring up the Brock Bowers breaking the rookie receptions record. So, but yeah, disastrous situation in New York. Lot of questions about, not a lot of questions, but there were kind of questions about like how he was as a teammate, a little bit of character assassination rather prior to the draft 12 months ago. Malik Neighbors showed out, man. He is a staple wide receiver 1 in dynasty leagues. He's the type of guy that could easily command 150 plus targets every year, no matter what the situation is. And it's only going to get better for New York, right? Can it really be worse than last year? So I think Neighbors at 103 here is just that's how I would go with what I know right now over the other quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I don't hate it. Don't hate it at all. But he doesn't have a quarterback right now, and it didn't stop him, and that's the big thing. But also, who is their quarterback going to be?
Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson.
Good old Russell Wilson. That is wild.
But yeah, so you're on the clock there, Jake, 104. Who are you looking at with what we know now 12 months later?
For what we know 12 months later, I'm taking Bo Nix here. Outside Jaden Daniels.
Why would you do that?
Well, it's not because I'm a Broncos fan, if that's what you're wondering. He would have been the offensive rookie of the year if it wasn't for Jaden Daniels.
And Brock Bowers.
Well, I'm pretty sure he took second in voting.
Did he? I thought Bowers took second.
Oh, might have been. Who knows? But the Denver Broncos had no weapons. 0 weapons. They still have no weapons in my eyes. Well, now they have Evan Ingram. But he's only going to get better. He did sprain his back, a muscle in his back. And that's why the rushing stopped. But he has rushing upside. He has that drive to get better that you want to see. And, I mean, that team is only going to continue to get better. So why not take him at 104?
Yeah, I personally, I'm not skeptical of Bo Nix, if that makes any sense. I think for what you just said, the fact he didn't have any weapons, he did turn water into wine there. I just feel like that we are a lot closer to his ceiling as far as fantasy production goes than we are his floor. Like, I don't see a potential for him to turn into a Jaden Daniels type of rusher or, a Patrick Mahomes type of passer. I just don't see those two avenues. So I feel like we're really close to the ceiling. That's just my opinion. You obviously watched Bo Nix closely and a lot more than I did, but with 105, I'm going the 12 months ago consensus 101, Caleb Williams, and that goes to show you how good this draft is because Caleb Williams, I think, finishes QB 13. He really didn't even have that bad of a rookie year from a fantasy perspective. A lot left to be desired, though, from Caleb Williams, and I think with Ben Johnson in place, we have the potential to turn that around pretty quickly, but you saw flashes, right? You saw the big plays. You saw he was able to use his feet. He has good weapons in place. DJ Moore there, Roma Dunze there, who we'll get into a little bit later, of course.
Don't forget Cole Kmet.
And some dude that plays tight end. No, I'm just kidding. Cole Kmet, Notre Dame great, Cole Kmet. But yeah, so I think I probably would have taken Caleb over Bo and probably the next guy over Bo. But I think given what we saw here, Bo, Caleb, and the next guy, I'm not upset no matter what order you put these guys in. So who is that next guy, Jake, at 106? Or do you have anything you want to say about Mr. Caleb Williams?
Oh, no. I mean, I think it was players' fatigue. He did well, but he also was playing hero ball. I felt like he can do so much better, and I think with Ben Johnson, he's going to continue to do better, and he's going to get better. But people wanted him to be Andrew Luck out the gate type of deal, and he's not it. That's not his game. He's not intellectually there, I think, and I think he's going to get better. I think Ben Johnson's going to keep it simpler, and he's going to take less sacks. He's going to know where to go with the ball, and that's just what it's going to be like.
I do feel like he's going to have that timing aspect really coached into his game here. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. So 106, this is a guy I like. You liked him a little bit more kind of throughout the years, but I think this was a guy who, one, was a little underappreciated anyway. You mentioned it, prospect fatigue, and then number two, his landing spot did him no favors. But who is this next draft pick?
I mean, it was J.J. McCarthy, right? No? Oh, it was Drake May. I was like, I remember I took him, but I can't remember who I took over who.
Yeah, 106 was Drake May.
No, yeah, well, absolutely. What more did you want? They tried to sit him, and then Brissett just, decided not to play good football. And Drake May went in there and put up the fantasy football. He ran the ball, and he had, if not a worse supporting cast than Bo Nix, equally as bad. And he went out there, ran the ball, threw touchdowns, did what he could, made Hunter Henry look like an all-star.
Whoa. Hey, now. Hunter Henry's been pretty good his whole career. He just could never stay healthy.
Yeah, that is his downfall.
Drake May is a beast, man. Like, we liked him. Again, you a little bit more so than me. You have, much stronger allegiance to North Carolina.
Yeah.
We liked him 2 years ago, and then he decided to go back to college for his senior year. And it seemed like all the good comparisons stopped. People were like, oh, he's not that good anymore, but not realizing that he lost all of his weapons last year, minus Marion Hampton. And that this guy, so at this point in time, right, we have a blip of data for Drake May, but he averages more rushing yards per start than Josh Allen does.
Oh, that just sounds so good.
So, again, blip of data, and maybe as Drake May gets more weapons, he won't feel like the need to run, but I do feel like running is a staple in Drake May's game. We saw it a lot in college, and I felt like it was a very underrated aspect to him. So I feel like he's going to, once they kind of fix the situation there, maybe get him a little bit of help, I feel like that we're looking at, potential like habitual low end QB1 numbers with some like top 5 upside.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not.
Yeah, 107. I'm going with the consensus 102 from last year, 12 months ago, Mr. Marvin Harrison Jr. Look, again, same as Caleb. Fine rookie season, right? 880 yards and 7 touchdowns, I believe it was, but it didn't really live up to people's expectations. I don't feel like the play calling in Arizona was fantastic. I feel like him and Kyler Murray weren't really set up to ever be on the same page and be successful. But this guy, obviously, very talented. We saw flashes of it last year. And if it wasn't for Justin Jefferson coming into the league and putting up 1,400 yards as a rookie, we'd all be looking at Marvin Harrison Jr. like, dang, 60 catches, almost 900 yards, and 7 or 8 touchdowns is a pretty good rookie year. But the expectations for rookies in Dynasty has just become a little bit outrageous, in my opinion. Do you have anything you would like to say about Mr. Marvin Harrison Jr. there, sir?
Honestly.
Okay.
Not really.
All right. Well, 108, who did you select?
108, I went with J.J. McCarthy, speaking of Justin Jefferson. And to me, we just saw what Sam Darnold did. And J.J. McCarthy, if not better than Sam Darnold, sorry. Trying to get my thoughts together here. But he has a year in the system already. He was injured, yes, but he has all the talent in the world around him and a healthy Hawkinson. So what more do you want?
Yeah, I mean, I think, J.J. McCarthy is very athletic. I think he has a strong arm. I think the fact that he wasn't asked to do a lot at Michigan kind of downplays his prospectability. But that being said, I think you hit the nail on the head. Nick Mullins, Josh Dobbs, and other much lesser talented quarterbacks than J.J. McCarthy had great fantasy success in that system. So I cannot foresee J.J. McCarthy not having fantasy success. And he also brings a little bit of rushing upside. We'll see how much that holds up in his first year as a starter with the knee injury.
Yeah, we'll see. I think he's going to do well. I don't know if you saw him playing golf, but I think that knee's fine.
109, a guy you forgot about while doing this draft. I don't know if you would have put him anywhere higher than where he went, but this is a guy I also forgot when ranking wide receivers. So maybe he's a forgettable dude. I don't know. But it's Brian Thomas Jr.
He just never blew you away.
Which is weird because when we were doing the film, and I think I say this every time we talk about Brian Thomas Jr., when we were doing the film and the prospect study, like something was off there. I just couldn't, like it was the route tree wasn't.
It was his route tree. Yeah, he just did the same go routes and just. Bleh.
And son of a bitch, I guess it worked. But he's obviously, a staple in the Jacksonville offense. My big question mark for him is I want to see him do it with Trevor Lawrence. Now, granted, I am so glad. First off, thank you, Dougie P. But I am so glad that those guys are out of that system. Doug Peterson, a little bit, overrated. Probably got a few jobs because of this right here. But I just don't. I think that was the best thing for him. Liam Cohen coming in. What we saw in Tampa last year, I think both Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr., potentially any other weapons they add, Brenton Strange, I think that whole offense could take off, and Brian Thomas Jr. could have success with Trevor Lawrence, whereas a lot of his success last year came from Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne all being hurt, and Mac Jones just going out there and slinging the football like 35 times a game, and half the targets going Brian Thomas Jr.
Well, what's funny is half those guys are gone now. So they're not coming back.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's going to get the targets.
110. My bad. Brian Thomas Jr. is your guy, LSU guy.
He is an LSU guy. I got him somewhere over there. One of those. His autograph, good times. But, yeah, no, He had neighbors with him, so we didn't know what was going to happen. We weren't sure if this was going to be like another Terrence Marshall type of deal.
Oh,
And
God.
What?
Terrence Marshall.
Right, dude? Everybody thought he was going to be the truth.
Dude, him and Laviska Chenault.
Big letdowns.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no. He didn't do enough. And against the second-rated corners, he was getting touchdowns, but that was it. And so now we know.
Yeah, now we know. Hindsight's 2020. By the way, I would like to point out, right, that not all picks are equal. We're not out here saying that Brian Thomas Jr. is only worth the 109 in 2025 because we redrafted him in 2024 to 109. Some context here matters. This draft class is probably the best draft class of like the last half decade at least. At least that's the way it's shaping up to be. So that's not what we're saying here at all. Don't go firing off 109 for Brian Thomas Jr. You're probably going to get laughed at. 110.
Could you imagine somebody sending you the 109 right now for Brian Thomas Jr.?
Well, first off, I don't have any Brian Thomas Jr. shares. I'm a little disappointed about it because I have Marvin Harrison Jr., I have Drake May, Caleb Williams. I traded away my Bo Nix. I don't have any neighbors. I don't have a lot of players from this draft class, but I do have a lot of shares of a few players from this draft class, and it kind of makes me upset.
Yeah, I only had one that I drafted Brian Thomas Jr. in, and it was in auto, and then I traded him away for peanuts.
Brian Thomas Jr.?
Yeah. It's where I got
for?
Javonte Williams and all that fun jazz.
Wow. Your fandom really strangle-held you there, buddy.
It was that in like a second. And at the time, it was his to win, lose, whatever.
Okay, we're going to move on to 110. Jake, who were you drafting here at 110?
110. Who was I drafting at 110? You just need to bring it up. Just put it on the screen. Yeah, there we go. We love a good Penix. Michael Penix Jr. here. And honestly, 110 is a steal, especially if he balled out. But everybody was up in arms against him because, Kirk Cousins. They took him with the 8th, but they had just signed Kirk Cousins to like 3 years, $100 billion, whatever it was.
$100 billion.
It was stupid. And so they, instead of helping Kirk Cousins out, they just draft his replacement. But now that Kirk Cousins looks to be on the outs, I'm pretty sure he's still with the team, but they're looking for trades and all that fun stuff.
They publicly said they're okay with Kirk Cousins being their backup. I'm sure that's probably smoke and mirrors to make it seem like, hey, we're not just going to sell this guy for peanuts.
Exactly. But just he looked good in his starts. I think he averaged like 17, 18 points, something like that.
It's also in a fantastic situation.
Great supporting cast around him. Bijan, you got Drake London, you have Kyle Pitts. Yes, I said Kyle Pitts. Get over it. Get over it if you're watching.
Darnell Mooney popped off last year.
Well, if you've been watching us, big Mooney fan here. And I called it. He went to a quarterback that could throw him the ball. He was always open. I just watched Justin Fields miss him by about 100 miles every time.
And aren't you a big Justin Fields truther?
For fantasy football, yes. I don't tie me into real football. Fantasy football, he is a great quarterback.
Oh, man.
For rushing upside, and that is king in fantasy football.
So we're at 110 at this point. How would you value all of these guys against 2025 picks to this point? Like, what's the pick the worst name on this board, and what's the lowest pick that you could compare them to for 2025?
I would take all these players with the 101.
Yeah, for me, it's like 102 at worst.
Yeah, like You could trade. Like I would do it in a heartbeat. I think this class was that loaded compared to this running back loaded. Now, this draft is running back loaded. But what are we doing?
For me, I mean, yeah, it's
Running backs are-
102, 102, 103 like worst. But yeah, I don't. Let's see. I still might take Marv 101. So I'm definitely taking Jaden, Bowers, Neighbors, Caleb, May, Marv, 101, and I'm probably taking the rest 102. I don't know. It's tough to think about that without like having like an actual trade or like something to really like put the pressure on me or like a team to contextualize. But yeah, long story short, so far, and I think there's a couple more names on here that we would take with some fairly decent draft capital in this class too. There's a lot to be desired here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
111, taking Lad McConkey. Balled out with Justin Herbert. This guy had all kinds of red flags for me as far as the production went coming out of college. No real breakout year at Georgia. Lots of injuries. Never really a true like alpha dominator. So if you're into like the metrics, this guy scared you a lot, or at least he should have scared you a lot. The route running was very crisp, though. A lot of the film work was very nice. So it was tough, and I avoided him. I stuck by my guns. I said, the numbers tell me like this guy may not pan out despite the draft capital. He was, getting drafted around Keon Coleman and Jalen Polk, and those two guys maybe necessarily didn't work out the way that their draft capital should have. But this dude was money, right? Got paired with Justin Herbert, was pretty much the lone passing game target there, and absolutely showed out once John Harbaugh remembered right around like week 7 or 8, like, holy crap, Justin Herbert's my quarterback.
Yeah, he can throw the ball until the playoffs, but we won't get into that.
Well, he can throw the ball in the playoffs, just to the wrong team.
Yeah. Looked beautiful throwing it to the wrong team.
But yeah, so I think between 110 and 111, personally for me, is kind of hit a tier break. My downside for Lad McConkey is I don't think that he keeps up that type of production. I do think that he largely benefited from being the only legitimate weapon in that offense, and I could absolutely see an avenue where the Chargers go and get a massive upgrade in weapons because they do have a nice nucleus to the team where they can start just building accessory pieces.
No, exactly. I think he's gonna take a seat back. He's gonna drop a little bit, but that's fine. He'll ball out as a slot, but I don't think he's gonna get the targets because actually he might, dude. Who knows? We'll see who they draft. We'll see what they do.
So last year he only had 112 targets, but his efficiency was crazy. Turned it into 182 catches, 14 yards per reception, and 7 touchdowns.
How many catches?
82 on 112.
Okay, you said 182.
No,
I was
112 targets, 82 catches. Like, that efficiency rate's pretty good. Granted, you got a good quarterback, but still.
Yeah, but I mean, watching him twice this year against Denver, he got open, and that's what he does. He gets open, and he had a quarterback that could put it on the money, and that's what happened. So I like it. I think he has a role. He might have peaked this year. We don't know. But if he can stay healthy, he's going to be consistent, like high-end wide receiver too.
Okay, you're on the clock. 102, 2020, or 103, 2025, right?
Yeah.
The first two names off the board are Genty and Hampton. You have 103. Are you sending that out for Lad McConkey?
No.
You're keeping 103?
Yeah, I'm keeping the 103.
All right. Your last pick of the first round, excuse me, not your last pick. It's not like that Spinorama game where we played last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever that was where we kept getting screwed. Weren't even participating in the draft.
Just getting donkey stomped.
Xavier Worthy at the 112.
And we saw same thing happen to Rashid Rice the year prior. took him a while to get the rapport. Once he got the rapport, he was good to go. And so, I mean,
yeah, well, you and I were much higher on Xavier Worthy than other people 12 months ago. We did watch a lot of film. We were much higher on Xavier Worthy than we were his teammate, A.D. Mitchell. What a disaster that turned out to be. But yeah, I think everything that we saw in the second half, as you pointed out, he got rapport with Mahomes, came to light versus what we saw in college. And I think that there is room for Xavier Worthy to grow. Now, the obvious downside is, one, Rice was hurt. Two, Travis Kelce is probably a shell of himself at this point, who is coming back for maybe one more year. So maybe rolling into next year, if Rice is a little bit healthier and shows you don't quite see that same production right away, but a couple years down the road, I think Xavier Worthy is a really nice piece to have on a rebuilding team.
absolutely, I agree with you 100%. And I think he's only going to get better. I think he will take that Tyreek Hill role. He's smaller, but at the same time, I think his route running and his ability to be fast with Patrick Mahomes is just going to keep him.
Oh, I think Xavier Worthy is light years ahead of Tyreek Hill as a prospect. I think he's a much more developed route runner than Tyreek Hill was coming out.
And so I like what I see. And he just needed to build that rapport. He got the rapport, and so now we're good.
Okay. 201, roll into Rome Odunze. See, Odunze was like a top 6-7 pick in last year's draft class. And he's all the way down here at 201 in our redraft. It just goes to show you how deep this class is. I do think that there is a drop-off after this pick, but the fact that we have, insane value in like the first 13 picks of the draft, right? Like we roll into next year 12 months later, and we're talking about giving up like early and mid firsts for all these guys that, we would take at 201 in a redraft. That's crazy. But yeah, Odunze, I expect big things from Odunze. I think he had a pretty decent, again, rookie season last year, not compared to expectations nowadays where everybody expects or wants people to be Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. But I think he did all in all have a pretty good rookie year, considering the struggles with Caleb Williams, considering the fact he was the third target a lot of times, considering the fact that the coaching staff and the offensive coordinator over there were unbelievably terrible. So I think that Rome Odunze has a chance to really grow.
There we go. Love to see it.
202, Mr. Krogan. You took Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah, this one's a little wild, 5th-round pick, but I mean, knowing what we know now, and if people would have known that they would have got a running back 2 here at the 202, they would have took him. And I took 18 running backs in this draft, I swear to God, in auto. I think I took 6 legitimately, and it was just what is the word I'm trying to do? I cannot zero ability to think. It was just perfect. I don't think he's going to do anything great after this. I think he does get replaced with this loaded running back class. But right now, I would take 202 and I'd take Tracy if we were redrafting.
So you took 4 in auto. You took Corum, Wright, Lloyd, and Tracy.
Yeah. Wait, did I?
Yeah.
Corum, Wright, Lloyd, Tracy. Yeah, there we go. I did take him. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, we've talked about it, not extensively on air, but we've talked about it. I think Tyrone Tracy gets replaced, but I do think that he has the potential to have some kind of fantasy relevant role on that team.
Yeah. I concur.
Yeah. At 203, I'm taking Ricky Pearsall. Started off his NFL career by getting shot, which sucks.
Survived
Yeah.
in the chest, right? Pretty sure he was shot in the chest.
Yeah, I think he was shot like center mass or something like that. It was crazy, but yeah, survived. Wasn't involved much in the beginning of the season when Brandon Ayuk was still healthy, Deebo Samuel was still there. George Kittle had an absolutely monster season. However, Brandon Ayuk is not healthy, and it's rumored that he's not going to be healthy to start the year. Debo Samuel's not there anymore, and George Kittle has another year older. God bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just about to make a comment about you things. Then I just sneezed like that.
Look at you. Karma came and got you before you even said anything.
Before I even said it, though, dude. I just got it.
Yeah, for me, this is about an opportunity is growing for Ricky Pearsall, and I think that they took him in the first round a year early, knowing that at least one of two of Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuel were not going to play for the San Francisco 49ers in 2025. So now that there is a better avenue for opportunity, I do think that Juwan Jennings comes back down a little bit, maybe shares some of his targets, especially early on with Ayuk still being hurt. We have to question the health of CMC moving forward. And like I was going to say before I cleared my throat and then Jake sneezed, Kittle does have an injury history that we just can't ignore, right? No matter how productive he is. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's a good opportunity here for Ricky Pearsall to take that first-round draft capital and move into potential fantasy relevance.
I like it.
204, you took Jalen McMillan.
I did. And look, Mike Evans, this is Dynasty. Mike Evans, and then you got AC tear with Godwin here. McMillan showed rapport. He had extreme efficiency and a lot of touchdowns. So I'm a little scared there, but at the same time, he performed. He went out there, did his job, and put up some points. And that's what you want.
If you were a rebuilding team, right, you're getting ready to rebuild, you have Mike Evans on your roster, would you be okay sending out a trade Mike Evans for Jalen McMillan straight up?
No, because I think he could get something better.
I do. I agree with that. Especially because Godwin's back now that
Yeah, no, McMillan's definitely a hold, but hopefully you sold prior to Godwin getting re-signed.
Yeah, that would have been huge. Big come up there. 205, I took Trey Benson. Starting to get into the area where like potential handcuff running backs start really gaining value, right? Obviously, we're out of the first round. And for those of you that play in leagues with me, I did a study on the 2-year hit rates of players, and we're starting to get in that little dicey area anyway where stuff becomes kind of a crapshoot. So I think if James Conner, who luckily somehow stayed healthy last year, is his usual James Conner self and, misses 3 to 4 games, I think Trey Benson has an easy opportunity in an offense that has a lot of good pieces and can score to fantasy relevance. So that's why I took him here at 205.
Fair enough.
206, you took Jalen Wright.
I took Jalen Wright. And look, Mostert's out now. Jalen Wright tried and used his opportunity the best he could. Didn't blow anybody away, but Mostert's gone. A-Chain has the ability to get hurt. So I think there's an avenue.
You said it has the ability to get hurt like it's a skill.
Yeah. It does.
Just the verbiage is funny.
Yeah, fair enough. Good point. But
and this is a guy we liked.
I still love him, and that's probably why I drafted him too high. I think he has the ability to be a 3-down back still.
I mean, I don't think you drafted him too high. You took him at 209 last year.
Yeah, but just
so
it is what it is.
At 207, I'm taking Braylon Allen for basically all the same reasons I took Trey Benson. Minus the fact that, there's swirling rumors that Aaron Glenn wants a running back by committee approach. But, I know as productive as Braylon Allen was last year, as productive as he was at Wisconsin, an extremely young football player, Breece Hall does exist, and Breece Hall is a better running back than Braylon Allen. So we'll see how much truth there is to that rumor.
Fair enough.
208, you took Mr. Xavier Legette.
Honestly, at this point, you're just trying to find players to, that showed potential, showed flashes flashes, and he did that. And there's no wide receivers that blow you away at the Panthers right now. So he has the ability to further his skill set, do better, build a rapport with Bryce Young, and become fantasy relevant.
Oh man, you know what? You said something that kind of triggered, so I'm going to give something away before these last 4 picks here. We forgot about Jalen Coker.
That we did.
I don't know if that would have changed any of your last 2 picks or not.
Trying to think of who I took the last 2 picks. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk.
I'll let you know at the end.
Yeah, keep that in mind. So, at 209, I took Blake Corum for, again, the exact same reason I took Trey Benson and Braylon Allen. I'm throwing darts at the backup running, like clear opportunity to fantasy relevance if the running back gets hurt in front of them, where these guys, can take off. And if it's extensive injuries, then good for these guys. But even like a game or 2, it's a guy that I can plug and play or use as potential trade bait. Just easier paths to value.
Oh, yeah. And
you took Keon Coleman at 210. Would you take a Jalen Coker over Keon Coleman here?
No, just because the offense, I think Keon has the ability with Josh Allen, who's going to throw up the balls. And that's essentially why you take Keon Coleman here. I think he's the biggest fall from grace. He went first round at the 112 for us, but now he's going towards the end of the second.
I don't know. Outside of A.D. Mitchell, I don't know that there was a guy that I was lower on throughout the whole draft process last year than Keon Coleman. And I'm still not high on Keon Coleman. I know a lot of people are attracted to that Bills landing spot and location and Josh Allen this. And since the middle of, 2023 when they replaced offensive coordinators, they moved on from Joe Brady, or they moved into Joe Brady's offense and moved off of Ken Dorsey. This is a team that just spreads the football around. There is not any one particular receiver or pass catcher that is going to necessarily outshine another throughout the consistent course of a 17-game NFL season. So I know a lot of people are like high on Keon Coleman because he's with the Bills, or maybe potentially inflating Khalil Shakir because he looks like the number 1 there. But the reality is I don't think that the offensive system in place has enough for all these guys to eat and be fantasy relevant. So that, and I just don't think Keon Coleman is a fantastic wide receiver, but
he's great in was a man.
Yeah.
Terrible in zone.
Yeah.
Which is what the NFL runs most of the time.
211, my last pick of this redraft, I took Jonathan Brooks. A stab in the dark, obviously. This was a guy coming off his first ACL tear who the Panthers thought he was worthy of being the first running back selected off the board. Unfortunately, he did re-tear that ACL, so not looking promising for him. But even still, say he misses all next year, he's got 2 more years on his rookie deal to go ahead and make it happen. And this was a guy that I liked coming out of college. I feel like he's got a complete 3-down skill set. Just needs to get on the field and show it whenever that may be.
Whatever that may be.
And your last pick, would you take Jalen Coker or, at the 212, Troy Franklin?
Jalen Coker.
Yeah. I felt like that this was probably, you were magnetized to the big D on the wall.
I can't hate it, but yeah, taking Jalen Coker here.
Yeah.
Over Troy Franklin.
So, yeah, no, man, this draft class is good.
No, it is. It's astonishing good.
Yeah. So, Mr. Irrelevant in the redraft, 2-round redraft of 2024 rookie picks is Troy Franklin. Yeah. So, Jake, the NFL draft is in
3 weeks.
Less than 3 weeks, actually, because we are recording this the day. 3 weeks from today would be the day after it ends.
And we'll have
all the rookie drafts going. Yeah, if you go about 3 weeks, 5 hours ago, all of our rookie drafts kick off.
That is wild to think about.
And we're really close, man. So you have anything you want to add before we close out the show here?
No, man.
It's good to get back in the studio with you, bud. Glad we
Always.
could find the time. This was a fun exercise. Yeah, again, for those of you listening, can't help but reiterate the fact that I do not value the 101 in 2024 the same as 2025, 102 to 102, et cetera, et cetera. So don't go sending me crazy ass offers, please. That being said,
Till next time.
yes, here on BSing Sports, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. Have a good night.